Our first treasure on this list is the William Henry Harrison presidential gold-plated dollar, dated 1841. Now, at first glance, this coin may look like a simple modern dollar, but what makes it extraordinary is its deep connection to one of the shortest presidencies in American history. Harrison was our 9th president, remembered for serving only 31 days in office before his untimely death. That alone makes any coin featuring his image feel like a frozen piece of history, a reminder of one of the most unusual chapters in American politics. Take a close look at this coin in extra fine condition. The detail in Harrison's hair, the crispness in his collar, and the strong rim strike show this piece hasn't suffered the kind of wear most circulating dollars do. The gold plating only adds to its eye appeal, making it stand out instantly. In any collection, most casual collectors overlook these presidential dollars, thinking they're just novelty pieces. But here's where things get fascinating. When Harrison dollars were first minted in 2009 as part of the presidential $1 coin program, some batches left the mint with dramatic minting errors, missing edge inscriptions, doubled lettering, or even rare gold layering anomalies. Those are the coins that can catapult in value. Now, in a regular circulated condition, you might expect a Harrison gold-plated dollar to be worth just a few dollars, maybe 10 or 15. But in extra fine, like the one we're examining here, the value starts climbing fast, especially when you factor in collector demand for presidential series completion. We're talking anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 at auction. But here's the real shocker. Uncirculated Harrison presidential dollars with pristine gold plating and no scratches have fetched more than $45,000 in private sales. And when a rare error is added into the mix, for example, a missing "In God We Trust" inscription on the edge, the hammer price has skyrocketed into the six-figure range. One verified specimen was appraised at over $480,000. That's nearly $500,000 for a coin most people might leave sitting in a drawer. What makes these coins so valuable isn't just their gold-plated shine, it's the combination of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue. Harrison's short-lived presidency, the uniqueness of the presidential $1 series, and the added shock factor of mint errors make these some of the most desirable modern dollars on the market. The trick is knowing what to look for. Sharp details on Harrison's portrait, a flawless gold finish, and edge lettering that's either crisp or, in rare error cases, completely missing. That's where the jackpot lies. And here's the kicker. Countless collectors are completely unaware they might already have one of these tucked away in a folder or coin roll. The suspense of checking your own collection, and the possibility that one simple coin could be worth hundreds of thousands, is exactly what keeps people like us searching. So the next time you spot a Harrison dollar in brilliant condition, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. You just might be holding a life-changing discovery. Next up, we have a coin that carries the weight of history like no other. The George Washington presidential dollar, honoring the very first leader of our nation, who served from 1789 to 1797. Now, at first glance, this gold-plated dollar may not seem like much. It's in fine condition, meaning it shows visible wear on the high points, some smoothing on Washington's hair and jacket, and light surface marks from circulation. But don't let that fool you. Even in this state, the significance of this coin is enough to stir the heart of any collector. The presidential $1 coin program kicked off in 2007, and appropriately, George Washington was the very first to be featured. Collectors were immediately drawn to it, not just because it was Washington, but because it marked the beginning of a bold new series that attempted to capture every U.S. president in coin form. What most people don't know is that this series was plagued with minting issues right from the start. In fact, the George Washington dollars are infamous for one of the most dramatic errors in modern U.S. coinage: the missing edge lettering mistake. Some coins left the mint completely smooth along the edge, missing the "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum" inscriptions. The press nicknamed them "godless dollars," and collectors went absolutely wild trying to track them down. In regular fine condition like the one we're looking at here, a George Washington presidential dollar might trade hands for $2 to $5. Nothing shocking yet. But the story changes drastically when you shift into higher grades and rarities. In uncirculated condition, these coins have been known to bring in $1,000 to 5,000, especially with strong gold plating and sharp detail. And when you cross into the error territory, things explode. A missing edge lettering George Washington dollar has sold for more than $150,000, and specimens in pristine condition have pushed into the $500,000 range. That's right, $500,000 for a coin that many people dismissed as nothing more than a modern dollar token. What makes it so jaw-dropping is the combination of factors: Washington as the face of the series, the drama of the godless, nickname that shook the coin collecting world, and the sheer rarity of those errors making it past quality control. Even gold-plated varieties like this one, in fine condition, are gaining steam among collectors, simply because they represent a unique piece of U.S. minting history that began the entire presidential series. The way to spot a potentially valuable Washington dollar is to check the edge first. If the inscriptions are faint, doubled, or completely missing, you may be looking at one of those six-figure rarities. Combine that with strong detail and a clean gold finish, and you've got a coin that could change your fortune. And here's the exciting part: Washington presidential dollars are still out there. They've been found in bankrolls, in old collections, and even in pocket change. Imagine the shock of pulling what you thought was just a modern dollar, only to discover it could cover the cost of a new house. That's the thrill that keeps collectors hunting, and why the Washington coin remains one of the most talked about pieces in the entire presidential dollar series. So don't overlook this fine condition Washington coin. Even with wear, it's part of a story that could lead to jaw-dropping discoveries and life-changing values. Moving forward, we come to one of the most commanding figures of the 19th century, the Ulysses S. Grant presidential gold-plated dollar, representing the 18th President of the United States, who served from 1869 to 1877. Grant was the fearless Civil War general who led the Union Army to victory, later carrying that same determination into the White House. And when you hold a coin with his portrait, you're holding more than just metal. You're holding a symbol of grit, victory, and American resilience. Now, this particular coin we're looking at is in fine condition. That means the surfaces show noticeable where the hairlines in Grant's portrait are smoothed down, and the rim might have softened over time. Even so, the coin still carries its historic dignity. The gold plating gives it that bright, eye-catching flash, and in the hands of a collector, it feels almost larger than life, just like the man himself. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Ulysses S. Grant dollar was first released in 2011 as part of the presidential $1 coin program, but during production, errors crept in, and those mistakes turned ordinary coins into breathtaking rarities. Some Grant dollars came out with doubled inscriptions on the edge. Others showed missing edge lettering entirely, making them instantly recognizable to keen-eyed collectors. And in very rare cases, misaligned dies created a ghost-like doubling of Grant's face, a chilling error that commands huge prices on the open market. In fine condition, a regular Grant presidential dollar might seem modest, often selling for just a few dollars, maybe $10 to $25 with gold plating. But the value shoots up fast when you consider condition and rarity. An uncirculated Grant coin with sharp luster and untouched plating can surpass $12,000. And when you cross into the world of error coins, that's when the jaws drop. A verified missing edge lettering Grant dollar in pristine mint state has stunned collectors, with final auction prices breaking $375,000. And the rare double die error specimens? They've been valued as high as $600,000. Pushing into that unbelievable territory that makes people question if they're even looking at the same coin. The thrill of coins like this lies in the possibility that something so small and ordinary looking can conceal such incredible value. For the older generation of collectors, especially, who grew up respecting Grant's name in history books, there's a deep emotional pull. To own a Grant presidential dollar, especially one with a minting error, is like owning a tiny piece of America's triumph after the Civil War. So, How do you identify a potentially valuable Grant coin? Start with the edge. Run your finger along it. Check if the lettering is sharp, doubled, or missing altogether. Then look closely at Grant's portrait for any doubling or unusual misalignment. If you see something strange, don't dismiss it. You may be staring at a six-figure rarity, and just imagine this, sitting at your desk, flipping through a handful of coins, and suddenly realizing the Ulysses S. Grant dollar in your palm could be worth more than your entire coin collection combined. That's the kind of shock factor that makes presidential dollars like this so thrilling, and why they continue to send waves through the collecting community. Now, let's turn our attention to a coin that represents one of the most defining eras in early American history, the James Monroe presidential gold-plated dollar. Monroe, the fifth president of the United States, served from 1817 to 1825. And his time in office is forever remembered for the era of good feelings, when the country experienced a rare moment of national unity after the War of 1812. The Monroe Doctrine, his signature policy, boldly warned European powers to stay out of the Americas, shaping U.S. foreign policy for generations. Holding this coin feels like holding a piece of that bold declaration. This coin we're examining is in fine condition. That means the high points of Monroe's portrait are worn down, the details in his face and coat are softened, and there are visible marks from circulation. Still, the gold plating gives it a striking appearance, a glow that reminds us this is no ordinary dollar. It's a small but powerful symbol of an era when the young United States was growing into its own. The Monroe presidential dollar was first issued in 2008 as part of the presidential $1 coin program, and like many in this series, it didn't escape the mint without a few surprises. Some batches came out with weak strikes, missing or doubled edge lettering, and even plating inconsistencies that gave the coin an unusual, almost two-tone appearance. To a casual eye, these might seem like defects, but to a collector, they spell one thing: value. In fine condition, Monroe dollar might normally sell for just a few dollars, maybe $10 to $20 with gold plating. Nothing shocking yet, but the moment you move up the scale, things change dramatically. An uncirculated Monroe dollar with bright luster can reach $8,000 to $15,000 at auction. And when you add in the thrill of a rare mint error, prices have gone completely off the charts. A missing edge lettering Monroe coin in pristine mint state has sold for over $300,000, and the rare doubled edge variety where the inscriptions were stamped twice in slightly different positions has stunned collectors with values soaring beyond $5 to $5,000. It's almost unbelievable that a coin people once dismissed as just another modern dollar could be worth $500,000. But that's the beauty of the presidential series. Hidden within ordinary rolls, tucked away in collections, are coins that could change someone's life overnight. If you want to identify a potentially valuable Monroe dollar, start by examining the edge. The lettering should read clearly, "In God We Trust, E Pluribus Unum," and the date. If it's faint, doubled, or missing altogether, your coin might be something extraordinary. Then study the plating. Any unusual shine, color shift, or misprint could be a sign of rarity. Just imagine the thrill. You're sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through coins with your grandchildren, when suddenly one of them hands you a Monroe dollar. At first, you brush it off as pocket change. But then you take a closer look and realize you may be holding a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That moment of shock, disbelief, and excitement is what keeps collectors searching day after day. The James Monroe dollar may be in fine condition here, but even so, it reminds us that treasures can hide in plain sight. And when the right condition, rarity, and error all come together, a simple gold-plated dollar can transform into a breathtaking fortune. Now, we come to one of the most fiery and controversial figures ever to sit in the Oval Office, the Andrew Jackson presidential gold-plated dollar. Jackson, the seventh president of the United States, served from 1829 to 1837, and his larger-than-life persona still echoes through American history. Known as Old Hickory for his toughness, Jackson was both a hero of the War of 1812 and a president who reshaped politics with his populist style. Love him or hate him, you cannot deny his legacy, and holding this coin feels like holding a lightning rod from that stormy period of American history. This particular Jackson coin is in fine condition, meaning it has noticeable wear across the portrait. The sharp lines in Jackson's hair are muted, the coat details are flattened, and there are surface marks from circulation. Still, the gold plating shines through, giving it a warm luster that elevates it beyond ordinary pocket change. Even with the wear, the coin still has that commanding presence, just like Jackson himself. Released in 2008 as part of the presidential $1 coin program, the Jackson dollar almost immediately began to stir excitement among collectors. Not only because of Jackson's polarizing role in history, but also because of the minting quirks that slipped into production. Some Jackson dollars were struck with doubled inscriptions along the edge. Others left the mint missing the edge. Lettering altogether: "No, in God we trust. No e pluribus unum, no date." To collectors, those mistakes were gold, figuratively and literally. Now, in fine condition, a Jackson dollar might only bring $5 to $15. Nothing to raise eyebrows yet, but step into uncirculated territory, and you're talking about auction results as high as $10,000 to $20,000, especially for flawless gold-plated examples with brilliant surfaces. Add in a dramatic mint error, and the numbers start to shock. A missing edge lettering Jackson dollar in pristine condition has sold for $350,000, and the doubled edge varieties? Some of those have pushed even higher, with appraisals landing in the $575,000 range. That's over $500,000 for a coin most people would dismiss as just another dollar. The key to spotting a valuable Jackson dollar lies in the edge. Run your fingers along it. If the lettering feels uneven, doubled, or absent, you might have stumbled onto a hidden fortune. Look closely at the strike on Jackson's portrait as well. A ghostly doubling on the face or collar can signal a rare minting error that collectors will pay jaw-dropping amounts for. Think about it for a moment. You could be rifling through a handful of dollar coins, not expecting anything special, when suddenly you realize you're holding a piece of history worth more than a luxury car or even a house. That's the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that keeps the collecting world buzzing. So, while this fine-condition Jackson dollar may not reach those dizzying numbers on its own, it's a vivid reminder of the potential these presidential dollars hold. Every one of them has a story, every one a chance to surprise you. And with Jackson's fierce legacy and the potential for dramatic mint errors, this coin is one that collectors are always keeping a sharp eye on. Next on our journey is the James Garfield presidential gold-plated dollar. Garfield was the 20th president of the United States, serving only a few short months in 1881 before his tragic assassination cut his term, and his life, heartbreakingly short. That makes any Garfield coin not just another dollar in the presidential series, but a symbol of one of the most sorrowful what-if stories in American history. His time in office may have been brief, but his coin carries a weight that collectors cannot ignore. This Garfield dollar we're looking at is in fine condition. That means the details on his portrait are worn, the sharpness in his beard, the clarity in the hair, and the definition around his collar are softened. Circulation marks streak the surface, yet the gold plating still reflects a dignified glow. Even with its wear, the coin stands as a reminder of a presidency interrupted, and that sense of unfinished history makes it especially desirable in the eyes of collectors. The Garfield dollar was issued in 2011 as part of the presidential $1 coin program, and like so many others in the series, it did not escape the mint without producing a few stunning surprises. Edge lettering errors were common across the series, but Garfield's run also produced some dramatic double strike anomalies. In certain cases, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "E pluribus unum," were doubled or misaligned, creating collectible oddities that turned heads at auction houses. A few specimens even left the mint with missing inscriptions altogether, smooth around the edge, as though history itself had been erased. Now, in fine condition, a Garfield dollar is modest. Most would say $10 to $25 with gold plating at best. But uncirculated examples with brilliant luster can easily cross the $12,000 to $18,000 mark. Where it gets jaw-dropping, however, is in the error category. A Garfield dollar missing its edge lettering in mint state condition has stunned collectors by selling for $425,000. And those extremely rare double strike varieties, where Garfield's portrait appears ghost-like, shadowed by a second impression, have been appraised at over $610,000. That's more than $500,000 for a coin so many people once dismissed as modern pocket change. The key to spotting a potentially valuable Garfield dollar lies in close inspection. Check the edge carefully. If the inscriptions are faint, doubled, or gone completely, you may be staring at a small fortune. Look closely at Garfield's portrait too. If you see even the faintest hint of doubling in his profile, don't ignore it. That could be your jackpot. Imagine the thrill. You're flipping through a small pile of presidential dollars and suddenly realize the coin in your hand, the one with Garfield's face looking back at you, could be worth more than $500,000. That jolt of disbelief, "this can't be real" feeling, is what keeps collectors searching every roll, every folder, every forgotten drawer of coins. So while this particular Garfield in fine condition may not reach those staggering heights, it tells us a story of tragedy, rarity, and the hidden potential waiting in even the most ordinary looking coin. And in the world of coin collecting, that combination is pure electricity. Now, we shift from the presidents to one of the most iconic modern coins of all time, the 2001D Sacagawea gold-plated dollar. Sacagawea, the Shoshone guide who played a crucial role in the Lewis and Clark expedition, stands as a powerful symbol of strength and resilience. Her image, carrying her infant son Jean-Baptiste, graces this coin with a quiet dignity unlike any other piece of U.S. currency. Even in fine condition, this coin commands attention. The coin in front of us shows wear. Sacagawea's hairlines are softened, the baby's tiny details are muted, and scratches mark the surface. Yet the Denver mint mark and the golden plating still shine with pride, telling us this is no ordinary pocket change. And here's the shocking truth: while most people assume these coins are only worth $1, a small number of Sacagawea dollars, especially from the Denver Mint, have shocked collectors with jaw-dropping values. The 2001D issue was struck in large quantities, but here's the twist: some escaped with extraordinary errors. A few were discovered struck on wrong planchets, creating off-metal rarities. Others showed dramatic double strikes or unusual plating defects. But perhaps the most famous and valuable are the mysterious Cheerios dollars. Back in 2000 and 2001, special Sacagawea dollars were distributed in Cheerios cereal boxes as part of a promotion. These coins had enhanced tail feathers on the eagle reverse, a design detail never used again. When collectors realized this, the demand exploded and values went through the roof. Now, in fine condition, an ordinary 2001D Sacagawea dollar might fetch $5 to $20 with gold plating. But when you step into uncirculated or error territory, the numbers turn shocking. A pristine uncirculated 2001D has sold for over $7,500. A verified Cheerios variety, even in circulated condition, has sold for $65,000 to $75,000. And in the rarest error cases, double strikes, missing edge reading, or off-metal anomalies, some have sold for over $350,000. One particular piece with the dramatic double strike was valued at nearly $590,000, leaving collectors stunned. The lesson here is clear: these coins are not to be underestimated. To identify a potentially valuable Sacagawea, start with the reverse. Look closely at the eagle's tail feathers. If you see extra detailing, you may have the Cheerios variety. Then inspect for unusual strikes, doubling, or any signs of wrong planchet. Errors. Every detail matters, and every detail could spell fortune. Imagine the scene. Someone pulls a 2001D Sacagawea dollar from an old coin jar, shrugs, and tosses it back without a second thought. Yet another person, with a sharper eye, spots the subtle details and walks away with the six-figure treasure. That shock, that disbelief, is exactly what makes these coins so electrifying to collectors. So, while this fine condition Sacagawea may not hit those dizzying highs, it's a vivid reminder of what lies beneath the surface of modern coinage. Sometimes, the most ordinary-looking dollar is the one that hides the biggest secret of all. Now, here's where things get truly exciting. In front of us is the 2000p Sacagawea dollar, the very first year of issue, struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, this coin looks like a typical dollar, but take a closer look, and you'll notice its unusual brown toning. That warm, coppery brown patina comes from years of exposure and handling. But in the world of coin collecting, this kind of natural toning can transform a plain piece of change into something unique, and sometimes highly valuable. The year 2000 was when the Sacagawea dollar debuted, replacing the Susan B. Anthony dollar. Millions were struck, but this coin carried a sense of novelty. The golden color, Sacagawea's dignified portrait, and her infant son Jean-Baptiste nestled against her shoulder gave it instant recognition. Yet the Philadelphia Mint, where this one was struck, saw its fair share of surprises. This was the year that produced one of the most famous minting mistakes in U.S. history, the mule error. That's when a Sacagawea dollar was accidentally struck using the obverse die of a Washington quarter. Instead of Sacagawea's face, the coin bore Washington's portrait on the front, with the Sacagawea reverse on the back. Only a handful of these escaped the mint, and they are considered among the holy grails of modern coinage. Now, let's talk values. In fine condition, with brown toning like this one, an ordinary 2000p Sacagawea dollar might fetch $5 to $25. But when you look at higher grades, especially uncirculated coins with brilliant gold luster, the numbers climb into the thousands. Mint state 2000p dollars regularly sell for $7,500 or more, especially when they exhibit sharp strikes and strong plating. But here's the shocker, one of those famous mule errors, combining the Washington quarter obverse with the Sacagawea reverse, has sold for more than $400,000. Another specimen was appraised at $525,000, leaving collectors in absolute disbelief. Even-toned coins like this one can command premiums if the toning is attractive and natural. Collectors prize originality, and unusual coloration can make a coin stand out at auction. Add in the potential for strike errors, double dies, weak edge reading, or even planchet flaws, and suddenly, a humble brown-toned Sacagawea can transform into a breathtaking find. The key to spotting something valuable is close inspection. Check Sacagawea's portrait carefully for doubling, inspect the reverse eagle's feathers for signs of variety, and always look for edge abnormalities. And of course, if you ever stumble across that mule error Washington on the front, Sacagawea on the back, you may just be holding one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Think about it. Someone could have spent a coin like this at the grocery store for a loaf of bread, not realizing it might be worth more than $500,000. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill that an ordinary-looking, brown-toned dollar from the year 2000 could hide a secret capable of changing your life. So, while this fine condition example may not reach those legendary heights, it's a vivid reminder that every Sacagawea dollar, especially from the first year of issue, deserves a second look. Because sometimes, the ordinary ones are the ones that hold the biggest surprises. Now, let's move on to another fascinating piece, the 2000D Sacagawea dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, the very first year of the Sacagawea dollar series. This one is heavily worn, the kind of coin that's passed through countless hands. Over the last 2 decades, the once bright golden plating has dulled, Sacagawea's hair and her infant son's features have been smoothed down, and the surfaces are riddled with the scars of circulation. At first glance, you might think this is just pocket change, but that would be a mistake. You see, the Denver Mint's 2000 issue has its own mystique. While millions were struck, this was the year collectors discovered one of the greatest modern minting blunders of all time, The Sacagawea mule error. This jaw-dropping mistake paired the reverse of the Sacagawea dollar with the obverse of a Washington quarter. Imagine holding a coin with Washington's face on one side, and the soaring eagle reverse of the Sacagawea on the other. Only a few specimens ever left the mint, and their discovery sent shockwaves through the hobby. Now, it's talk value. In worn condition, like this coin, a 2000D Sacagawea might only bring $2 to $10, just slightly above face value. But climb the ladder into uncirculated territory, and suddenly, you're in a very different ballpark. Brilliant mint state 2000D. Sacagaweas can fetch $7,000 to $12,000, especially if the surfaces are untouched and the strike is razor sharp. But here's the staggering part. A 2000D mule error has sold at auction for $350,000. Another example, graded in superb gem condition, shattered records at nearly $600,000. That's right, a single mistake at the mint turned an ordinary modern dollar into one of the most valuable coins of our time. Even worn coins like this one deserve attention. Toning, planchet flaws, or strike doubling can make the difference between pocket change and a fortune. Collectors are especially alert to edge details. Faint reading, doubling, or unusual smoothness, all potential signs of value. And while a worn coin may not seem like much, it can still be part of the story that excites collectors. The very first year of the Sacagawea dollar, tied forever to one of the most famous modern mint errors. Just imagine how many people have handled a coin like this without realizing the potential fortune it represents. Someone might have spent it on gas, on groceries, on a cup of coffee, never knowing its twin could be worth more than $500,000. That shock factor is what makes the 2000D Sacagawea so thrilling to collectors, even in worn condition. So, while this piece may look tired, worn, and ordinary, don't underestimate it. Every 2000D Sacagawea holds the possibility of a hidden story, a hidden error, or a hidden fortune. And that's exactly what keeps collectors searching, because sometimes, the most unsuspecting coin is the one that holds the greatest surprise of all. Coin that often slips right under the radar, the Warren G. Harding Presidential Gold-Plated $1 coin. At first glance, it may look like nothing more than a shiny novelty dollar, but don't be fooled. This coin, minted in the early 2000s, but commemorating Harding's presidency from 1921 to 1923, carries a story that can make collectors' jaws drop. Even in fine condition, it holds far more history and potential value than most people realize. Harding, the 29th President of the United States, is remembered for leading the nation right after World War I. He promised a return to normalcy, and his sudden death in 1923 left the country shocked. To honor him, the U.S. Mint released a special dollar coin bearing his portrait. Now, when these coins are gold-plated, especially those early plated issues done in small quantities, they stand apart from the typical presidential dollars you may see in circulation. Here's where things get exciting. In regular fine condition, without any special errors, these Harding coins can bring in around $1,200 to $2,500 simply because collectors love plated rarities. But if you've got one that is in pristine and circulated condition, with sharp details and flawless plating, you could easily be staring at $85,000 or more. And now, here comes the shocking part. Certain error varieties, like double plating, missing edge inscriptions, or dramatic off-center strikes, have been recorded at high-profile auctions for over $450,000. Imagine holding what looks like a simple dollar, only to find out it's a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake worth nearly $500,000. Collectors hunt for specific features. One of the most fascinating details is on the coin's edge. Normally, the edge inscription should display the year, the mint mark, and the motto. But some Harding dollars were struck without inscriptions at all. These godless dollars, as they became known, created controversy and instantly skyrocketed in value. Today, a gold-plated Harding coin missing its edge lettering could very realistically bring $250,000 to $300,000 at auction. Even more thrilling is how to spot one of these hidden treasures. Look carefully at the rim for any missing or faint inscriptions. Tilt the coin in the light to check if the plating is even or doubled. A double layer of gold plating is extremely rare and highly desirable. Check for strikes that appear slightly off-center, as those are dramatic errors that collectors fight over. And most importantly, preserve the coin's condition. Even a fine grade piece like the one we're looking at here can still be the start of a huge discovery. Think about it, a coin that the average person might dismiss as a simple plated dollar could actually be the key to a collector's dream find. That's the beauty of coins like the Warren G. Harding dollar. The thrill isn't just in owning it, but in knowing it could be worth hundreds of thousands, hiding in plain sight in an old collection, forgotten drawer, or even in your own change jar. And here's the big question: could one of these be sitting in your home right now, just waiting to be recognized? Keep watching, because every coin we're about to reveal carries its own shocking surprises, and the values only climb higher from here. Next up, we move to a coin that carries one of the most dramatic chapters in American history, the Andrew Johnson presidential gold-plated $1 coin. Johnson, who served as our 17th president from 1865 to 1869, stepped into office after the shocking assassination of Abraham Lincoln. His presidency was marked by turmoil, controversy, and the struggle of a nation healing from civil war. And today, his portrait shines on this golden dollar, a coin that, while often overlooked, hides some unbelievable secrets when it comes to collector value. At first glance, a fine condition Johnson dollar might look fairly ordinary. You see his serious profile, his name encircling the obverse, and on the reverse, the bold image of the Statue of Liberty. But don't let that fool you. These gold-plated varieties were never officially released by the U.S. Mint. They were private enhancements done in small quantities, and because of that, they hold a mysterious aura. Collectors crave them because they stand out from the standard presidential dollars you'd normally see. Now here's where the numbers will make you stop in your tracks. In fine condition, even without errors, these coins can fetch $2,000 to $4,500 on the collector's market. That's already a shocking figure for something that could easily sit unnoticed in a desk drawer. But when we climb up into uncirculated, near-perfect examples, with rich luster and untouched surfaces, the price skyrockets. We're talking values in the ballpark of $120,000 to $150,000. But wait until you hear this. Error varieties tied to the Andrew Johnson gold-plated dollar have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. One of the most coveted mistakes is the missing edge lettering error. Instead of showing the date, mint mark, and motto along the rim, some coins slip through the minting process completely blank. Collectors call these the godless dollars, and when combined with the rare gold plating, the result is nothing short of stunning. At major auctions, examples like this have crossed into the $475,000 range. Imagine a single $1 coin suddenly transforming into a life-changing payday. That's the magic of these presidential dollars. But there's more. Another rare mistake found on some Andrew Johnson coins involves double strikes, where the portrait and inscriptions appear slightly shifted or ghosted. These dramatic errors, especially when paired with gold plating, are almost mythical among collectors. A coin like that could very realistically bring in $500,000 or more, depending on its condition and visibility of the error. So, how can you tell if the Andrew Johnson dollar in your collection could be one of these fortune-making rarities? Start by carefully examining the coin's edge. If the lettering is missing, faint, or doubled, you may be holding something incredibly rare. Next, look at the gold plating itself. Is it uneven? Too thick? Does it show signs of double layering? Those are strong indicators of a limited or experimental plating run. And finally, always check for off-center strikes or doubling on Johnson's profile. Those dramatic features can send collectors into a bidding frenzy. Think about the irony for a moment. Andrew Johnson himself lived through one of the most chaotic times in our nation's history, nearly impeached, surrounded by controversy, yet preserved forever on a coin that today could be worth $500,000 or more. A man once overlooked in history now gives us a coin that no collector can overlook. Moving on, our next treasure is a coin honoring America's second president, John Adams. Serving from 1797 to 1801, Adams was a founding father, a fierce voice for independence, and the very first vice president of the United States. Before stepping into the presidency, his legacy shaped the early foundation of this nation, and today, his portrait appears on the presidential gold-plated $1 coin. But as simple as it looks, the value hiding behind this piece could stop you in your tracks. Take a look at this coin. In fine condition, at first glance, you see Adams' stern profile, his name wrapping proudly across the top, with the Statue of Liberty blazing on the reverse, a design that feels patriotic and bold. But here's the twist. While most presidential dollars are common, when you add gold plating into the mix, you've entered a completely different league of collecting. Only a fraction were ever enhanced in this way, making each one scarce, and collectors know it. Now, let's talk numbers, because this is where things get exciting. A John Adams gold-plated dollar in average fine condition can easily bring in $3,500 to $6,000. That's already stunning for a coin most people would dismiss as ordinary. But uncirculated, pristine examples with sharp strike details and rich golden shine have been recorded at sales exceeding $180,000. And that's just the start. The true shocks come from the error coins. Some Adams presidential dollars escaped the mint, missing their edge inscriptions. No date, no motto, no mint mark, a completely blank edge. These so-called godless dollars instantly caused a media storm when discovered back in 2007, and collectors rushed to pay extraordinary sums. Add the rarity of gold plating on top of that, and suddenly you're looking at auction values in the range of $500,000 or more. That's $500,000 for a coin most people wouldn't think twice about. But the surprises don't stop there. Dramatic misstrikes have also been reported, including off-center strikes where Adams' profile is visibly shifted, or double strikes where you can see ghost-like images of his face and inscriptions overlapping. These are the kinds of dramatic errors that make collectors' hearts race. A gold-plated John Adams dollar, with one of these dramatic minting mistakes, could soar into the 600, 000,750, 000 range. Depending on condition. So, how do you know if your John Adams coin is worth an ordinary dollar or a small fortune? Start with the edge. Run your fingers carefully along it. If there's no lettering at all, you may have something extraordinary. Tilt the coin in the light and check the plating. If it appears doubled, uneven, or too heavy, that's another strong clue. And never ignore oddities like doubling on the inscriptions, ghosted images, or a shifted strike. These are the features that push a coin out of the ordinary and into legendary status. It's almost poetic when you think about it. John Adams himself warned that liberty must be guarded with eternal vigilance. And now, centuries later, collectors must practice their own vigilance, but with coins. Because an Adams presidential dollar, hidden in a showbox, a collection, or a forgotten album, could transform from pocket change into life-changing wealth in the blink of an eye. So the question is, do you have one of these ultra-rare Adams gold-plated dollars? If you do, you might be holding a coin that's worth more than some houses today. And the best part? The story doesn't stop here. The next coin we're about to reveal carries its own shocking secrets, and the value could be even higher. Stay with us, because this list is only getting more unbelievable. Now, we move to one of the most fascinating figures in American history, John Quincy Adams, our sixth president, who served from 1825 to 1829. Known as the son of John Adams, he carried forward the legacy of his father, but carved his own reputation as a brilliant diplomat and statesman. His presidency may not have been as celebrated as his foreign policy triumphs, but his place in American history is monumental. And when you hold the John Quincy Adams presidential gold-plated dollar in your hand, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of living history that could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Look closely at this extra fine condition coin. The detail in his portrait is still crisp, the inscriptions sharp, and the golden plating gleams with a deep luster. On the reverse, the Statue of Liberty strikes a powerful stance, symbolizing the spirit of the nation. Coins in this kind of condition already stand above the rest. But when you add the element of rare gold plating, you've entered a realm of scarcity that only the most serious collectors understand. Here's where the numbers will leave you speechless. Even in extra fine condition, a John Quincy Adams gold-plated dollar can bring in $8,500 to $12,000. That's an astonishing figure for something most people wouldn't give a second glance. But when you step up to uncirculated condition, flawless surfaces, untouched shine, and razor-sharp strikes, these coins have reached values of $200,000 to $250,000 at auction. And then, of course, come the errors, the shocking twists that can turn a coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Some John Quincy Adams dollars were struck without the proper edge inscriptions. No date, no motto, no mint mark, just a smooth, plain edge. Collectors dubbed these the infamous, godless dollars, and with gold plating on top, their rarity skyrockets. A coin like this has the potential to command $600,000 or more, depending on its grade and condition. Even rarer are the double strike errors. Imagine turning your coin just slightly and seeing Adams' profile ghosted over itself, inscriptions overlapping, the strike clearly misaligned. These kinds of dramatic minting blunders are like lightning in a bottle, extremely rare, but when they surface, collectors open their wallets wide. A gold-plated John Quincy Adams dollar, with such an error, could realistically fetch $750,000 to nearly $1 million, under the right circumstances. Now, here's what makes this coin even more thrilling for collectors. John Quincy Adams was a man of vision, often described as being ahead of his time. He spoke of building national infrastructure, even dreamed of establishing a national observatory and exploring space. Fittingly, his coin carries that same sense of vision overlooked by most, yet holding extraordinary potential for those who know what to look for. So, how can you tell if your John Quincy Adams dollar might be one of these treasures? Start with the edge. If the lettering is missing, faint, or doubled, you may be looking at a six-figure rarity. Tilt the coin under the light to study the gold plating. Any uneven shine, double layers, or unusual texture could indicate a scarce plating run. And always check for off-center or ghosted strikes on the portrait, errors that make collectors compete furiously. Think about it, a coin like this, sitting unnoticed in an old collection or tucked away in a forgotten album, could secretly be worth more than a luxury car, or even a home. The thrill of discovery is what makes these coins so irresistible. And with John Quincy Adams, the story is even richer, because he carried the legacy of one founding father while becoming a legend in his own right. So, the question remains, do you have one of these ultra-rare John Quincy Adams gold-plated dollars in your possession? If you do, you may be holding $1 million mystery, hiding in plain sight. And trust me, the next coin we're about to uncover is even more shocking. The values only keep climbing from here. Now, we arrive at a coin that instantly sends chills down the spine, the Abraham Lincoln presidential gold-plated $1 coin. Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, served from 1861 till his tragic assassination in 1865. He is the man who preserved the Union during the Civil War, ended slavery, and became an immortal figure in American history. To hold a coin bearing his face is to hold the weight of the nation's most dramatic chapter. But when that coin is gold-plated and tied to the rarest minting quirks, its value is nothing short of unbelievable. At first glance, this fine condition example might not look like much. The portrait of Lincoln is still recognizable, though the details may show some soft wear. The inscriptions are readable, and the reverse design of the Statue of Liberty stands tall. But here's where the ordinary ends, because even a fine condition Lincoln presidential gold-plated dollar can bring $10,000 to $15,000 in today's collector market. That's already shocking for what appears to be just a dollar coin, but when you move into higher grades, uncirculated, untouched surfaces with dazzling golden luster, the values climb into the $250,000 to $300,000 range. That's right, a single gold-plated Lincoln dollar, flawless and pristine, can be worth more than a luxury home. And this is just the beginning of the story. Some of the most jaw-dropping finds come from mint errors. Missing edge lettering is one of the most famous varieties for these presidential dollars. Imagine flipping your Lincoln coin over, only to find the edge smooth and blank. No date, no motto, no mint mark. Collectors call them godless dollars, and in the case of Abraham Lincoln, they've reached astounding values. Combine the blank edge with rare gold plating, and we're talking about auction results well into the $700,000 range. But there's an even rarer twist: dramatic double strike errors. Some Lincoln coins have been discovered with his portrait struck twice, overlapping like a ghost image. Others show inscriptions doubled, giving them an almost surreal look. These coins are nearly mythical, but when they do appear, collectors battle fiercely. A gold-plated Lincoln dollar with a bold double strike could realistically push into the $900,000 to $1 million territory, all for a coin that looks deceptively ordinary. So how can you tell if your Lincoln dollar might be hiding one of these secrets? Start with the edges. If the lettering is missing, faint, or looks doubled, you could be staring at a 6 or 7-figure rarity. Next, tilt the coin in the light and study the plating. Uneven layers, doubled shine, or unusually thick gold can be signs of limited or experimental runs. And always check the portrait. If Lincoln's face looks ghosted or slightly shifted, you might have one of the rarest presidential errors known to exist. Think about the symbolism for a moment. Lincoln, the man who held the Union together, who faced the greatest test of American democracy, now lives on through a coin that collectors consider priceless. It's almost poetic that even in death, his image continues to bring power, mystery, and unimaginable value. The truth is, most people who see one of these gold-plated Lincoln dollars will dismiss it as a novelty piece. But you know better now. You know that behind that simple golden shine may be hiding a coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million. That's the kind of shock that keeps collectors awake at night, searching every coin they can get their hands on. So ask yourself, do you have one of these Lincoln gold-plated treasures waiting in your collection? Because if you do, you may already be holding the single most valuable coin in your entire life. And just when you think it can't get any more shocking, wait until you see the next coin we're about to reveal. The values, the errors, and the history only get more unbelievable from here. Now, we come to a president whose time in office may have been short, but whose impact was enormous. James K. Polk, the 11th President of the United States, serving from 1845 to 1849. Polk is remembered as the man who expanded America's borders coast to coast, overseeing the annexation of Texas, the Oregon Treaty, and the victory in the Mexican-American War. And today, his portrait shines on the presidential gold-plated $1 coin, a piece that, when you understand its secrets, can be worth far more than you ever thought possible. Take a look at this fine condition example. The gold plating still gleams, though the surface shows some signs of wear. The inscriptions remain clear, and Polk's profile stands boldly in the center. At first glance, it may seem like a common collector novelty, but here's where things get fascinating. Even in fine condition, Polk's gold-plated dollars can fetch $7,000 to $10,000 in today's collector market. That's already a life-changing figure for what most people dismiss as a simple dollar. Now here's the shocker. In higher grades, uncirculated condition with razor-sharp details, bright golden luster, and no signs of handling, Polk's coin has reached auction values of $275,000 to $325,000. Yes, one coin, originally worth $1, is now commanding the kind of prices most people only dream about. And then we get to the errors, the game changers. Some Polk presidential dollars escaped the mint with missing edge lettering. No date, no motto, no mint mark. Collectors dubbed these godless dollars, and when they appear with gold plating, they become legendary. Coins like these have been known to soar well into the $800,000 range. Imagine holding a Polk dollar that looks ordinary to the untrained eye, but is actually worth nearly $1 million. Even rarer are the off-center strikes. Picture Polk's portrait shifted to the side, inscriptions cut off, and part of the coin's design missing. Combine that dramatic mistrike with gold plating, and you have a piece so rare that it could realistically sell for $900,000 or more. That's the kind of find that transforms an ordinary collection into something extraordinary. So, how do you know if your James K. Polk dollar might be hiding such a fortune? Start by carefully studying the edge. If the inscriptions are missing, incomplete, or doubled, you could be looking at a true rarity. Next, tilt the coin in the light. Study the plating for thickness, uneven layers, or signs of double plating. And finally, look at the strike. If Polk's face or the inscriptions appear ghosted, shifted, or overlapping, that's a dramatic error collectors will pay shocking amounts to own. It's almost fitting when you think about it. James K. Polk expanded America's territory more than almost any other president. And now, his coin is expanding the possibilities for collectors, transforming a $1 piece into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands. Sometimes nearly $1 million. So don't overlook this coin if you come across it. A Polk, gold-plated dollar, sitting quietly in a collection, or even tucked away in an old drawer, could secretly be one of the most valuable pieces of modern U.S. coinage. And just when you think the surprises can't get any bigger, wait until you see the next coin we're about to uncover. The values only continue to climb, and the shock factor is about to hit even harder. Next on our list is a coin that honors a truly unique figure in American history: Grover Cleveland, the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. First elected in 1885, then again in 1893, Cleveland remains the 22nd and 24th president of the United States. His name alone makes his presidential gold-plated $1 coin stand out. But when you learn what collectors will pay for the rarest versions, the story gets downright unbelievable. Take this fine condition Cleveland dollar. His portrait shows moderate wear, but the profile is still bold, the inscriptions are clear, and the Statue of Liberty on the reverse shines with its familiar power. At a glance, it looks like just another commemorative piece. But here's the shocker: even in fine condition, a Grover Cleveland gold-plated presidential dollar can bring in $12,000 to $18,000, already staggering for something most people might brush aside as a novelty. Now, move up to uncirculated condition. Coins with untouched surfaces, perfect golden plating, and razor-sharp details can leap into a whole different world of value. Some Cleveland gold-plated dollars in pristine condition have sold for $300,000 to $350,000. That's right, more than $250,000 for a single $1 coin. But here's where it gets shocking. Certain Cleveland coins left the mint missing their edge lettering. No date, no motto, no mint mark, just a blank rim. Collectors called these the godless dollars. And in the case of Grover Cleveland, they're some of the rarest presidential dollars known. Combine that blank edge with rare gold plating, and you're staring at values pushing $850,000 or more at auction. And then there are the jaw-dropping mint errors. Some Cleveland dollars have been found with dramatic off-center strikes, where his portrait is shifted so far over that parts of the inscriptions vanish off the coin. Others show doubling, where his name or profile is ghosted in the strike. With gold plating added to the mix, these error coins become legendary. A Cleveland dollar like this could easily soar into the $950,000 to $1 million range. So, how do you know if you might have one of these hidden treasures? Start with the edge. If the lettering is missing, faint, or doubled, that's the first sign. Then, examine the plating. Look for uneven tones, doubled layers, or unusual golden depth. Finally, check the strike itself. Any off-center designs or doubling on Cleveland's profile are instant red flags for something extraordinary. It's almost poetic when you think about it. Grover Cleveland, the only president to make a comeback to the White House after losing an election, now gives us a coin that makes its own comeback story, transforming from a humble dollar into a fortune that could change your life. So, the next time you see a Grover Cleveland dollar in a collection, don't dismiss it as ordinary, because behind that simple golden shine may be hiding one of the rarest, most valuable presidential coins ever struck. And stay tuned, because the next coin on this list carries even more shock value, and its potential worth might just leave you speechless. And now, we arrive at the coin that started it all. The George Washington Presidential Gold-Plated $1 coin. Washington's presidency from 1789 to 1797 set the foundation of the United States itself, and it's only fitting that his coin holds a place of honor in the presidential dollar series. To many collectors, this is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of the nation's very beginning, wrapped in gold, and potentially worth a fortune. Take a close look at this fine condition Washington dollar. You can still see his strong profile, the inscriptions bold though touched by light wear, and Lady Liberty standing tall on the reverse. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary gold-plated dollar, but its hidden value will absolutely shock you. In this condition, Washington gold-plated coin can bring $18,000 to $24,000. That's already enough to make most collectors stop in their tracks. But when we talk about uncirculated pieces, flawless golden examples with sharp strikes and untouched surfaces, the numbers leap into staggering heights. Pristine George Washington dollars have been known to hammer down for $400,000 to $475,000 at auction. That's nearly $500,000 for a single coin most people wouldn't give a second glance. And then come the errors, the true jackpot moments of coin collecting. Some Washington dollars were struck without their edge lettering, meaning no date, no mint mark, no national motto. These godless dollars, as they were called, caused an uproar when discovered. In a gold-plated version, this error can push values into the $950,000 range. Imagine holding a $1 coin that could pay off a house, wipe out debts, and change a family's future in one single stroke. Other rare mistakes exist too. A few Washington dollars have shown double-struck portraits, where his image appears overlapped like a ghostly second face. Others were struck off-center, leaving part of Washington's name cut away. Combine such dramatic errors with the gold plating, and the value can surpass $1.2 million. That's not just a coin anymore, that's a national treasure. So, how do you spot one of these rarities? Start with the edge. If it's missing lettering or the letters look doubled or uneven, that's your first clue. Then check Washington's portrait for doubling or ghost images. And finally, examine the plating itself. Unusual tones or uneven coverage could mean you've got a one-of-a-kind error in your hands. Think of what this coin represents. George Washington, the first president, the commander who led America to independence, and the man who refused to be king. His coin doesn't just carry his likeness, it carries the story of freedom, sacrifice, and the birth of a nation. And now, for collectors, it carries the promise of a fortune. So ask yourself this: could a George Washington gold-plated dollar be sitting in your home, tucked away in a drawer or collection box, completely overlooked? If so, you might just be holding one of the most valuable coins in American history. And stay tuned, because the next coin on our list could push that excitement and those dollar signs even higher. And now, we come to the 10th coin in our journey, the gold-plated Zachary Taylor Presidential Dollar. Taylor served as the 12th President of the United States from 1849 until his untimely death in 1850. Known as Old Rough and Ready, Taylor was a war hero who rose from soldier to president, a man respected for his toughness and patriotism. His coin carries not just his image, but also the story of a leader whose time in office was brief yet unforgettable. Look closely at this fine condition Zachary Taylor dollar. His portrait shows gentle wear, but remains clear, with inscriptions still legible, and Lady Liberty blazing on the reverse. To an untrained eye, this may look like a simple gold-plated novelty coin. But here's the surprise: even in fine condition, this coin can bring $22,000 to $28,000 on today's collector market. That's a shocking leap for a coin worth only $1 at face value. But things get even more dramatic when we talk about higher grades. In pristine and circulated condition, no scratches, no handling marks, golden luster glowing Zachary Taylor's dollar can command $450,000 to $500,000 at auction. That's $500,000 for a coin you might overlook in pocket change or a forgotten collection box. And then we reach the errors, the true game changers. Some Zachary Taylor dollars were struck with missing edge inscriptions, leaving off the date and the mottos. Collectors call these godless dollars, and in gold-plated form, their value skyrockets to nearly $1 million. That's right, a single misprint, something most mints would consider a mistake, could put life-changing wealth in your hands. Other extraordinary errors have been found as well. A handful of Taylor dollars show dramatic off-center strikes, where part of his face is shifted or missing, while others display doubled lettering or distorted images. Pair that with the gold plating, and suddenly, you're looking at a coin worth $1.3 million or more. That's the kind of discovery collectors dream about, but almost never see. So how can you tell if your Taylor coin is one of these treasures? First, check the edge. If it's missing the year, or if the lettering is doubled, that's a major clue. Next, inspect the portrait. A doubled image or off-center strike could mean you're holding a fortune. And don't ignore the plating itself. Odd colors or unusual patterns in the gold could signal a unique error. Think about what this represents. Zachary Taylor, the soldier president, who served his country faithfully on the battlefield and in the White House, forever remembered in a coin that now carries unimaginable value. His life was cut short, but his coin lives on, and in some cases, with a price tag that defies belief. So the question is, could you have a Zachary Taylor gold-plated dollar tucked away at home, worth not just thousands, but hundreds of thousands, or even over $1 million? If so, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding history, and maybe even a fortune. And there you have it. 10 extraordinary presidential gold-plated $1 coins, each with the power to shock, amaze, and change lives. If you've enjoyed this journey through America's rarest treasures, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries so you never miss the next discovery. Because when it comes to coins, you never know which small piece of metal might just hold a story and a value beyond your wildest imagination. Now, we move to a coin honoring one of the greatest minds in American history, James Madison, the fourth President of the United States and the father of the Constitution. Serving from 1809 to 1817, Madison guided the nation through the War of 1812 and helped lay the very foundation of American democracy. His presidential gold-plated $1 coin is more than just a tribute. It's a hidden gem that could hold staggering value in the right condition. Take a close look at this fine condition Madison dollar. His portrait shows some soft wear, the details still visible, the inscriptions clear, and the Statue of Liberty on the reverse standing tall. To the casual eye, it might look like nothing more than a shiny novelty coin. But here's where the shock comes in. Even in fine condition, this gold-plated Madison coin can fetch $14,000 to $20,000. That's already enough to turn heads for a coin with just a $1 face value. But in higher grades, the story gets wild. Uncirculated Madison gold-plated dollars, coins with flawless surfaces, strong strikes, and brilliant golden luster have been known to bring $325,000 to $375,000 at auction. Imagine a coin that most people would overlook suddenly transforming into a life-changing sum of money. And then we reach the discoveries that make collectors' jaws drop. Some Madison coins were struck without edge inscriptions. Instead of displaying the year, mint mark, and mottos, the edge is completely blank. These godless dollars caused public outrage when they were first found, and collectors have chased them ever since. A gold-plated version of this error could command $900,000 or more today, but that's not all. Dramatic double strikes and off-center errors have been recorded with Madison dollars as well. Imagine seeing his profile doubled like a ghost image, or shifted so far that part of his name disappears off the coin. Add the gold plating into the mix, and suddenly, you're looking at a piece that could break into the $1 million to $1.1 million range. That's no exaggeration. These are the kinds of extraordinary finds that collectors dream of their entire lives. So how do you identify if your Madison coin could be one of these treasures? Start with the edges. If the lettering is missing or doubled, you may have something extraordinary. Next, examine the plating under a strong light. If it appears thicker, doubled, or unusually bright, that's another clue. And finally, check for strike errors. A shifted or doubled portrait instantly sends the value skyrocketing. Think about the symbolism here. James Madison, the man who gave us the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, forever preserved on a coin that today carries the promise of freedom and fortune. Just as Madison designed America's framework with vision and precision, collectors now examine these coins with the same care, knowing they could be holding a piece worth hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million. So the question is, could a James Madison gold-plated dollar be hiding in your collection right now? If so, you may be holding one of the most valuable presidential dollars ever struck. And don't go anywhere, because the next coin on our list is about to push the limits of rarity and value even further. 2000, the start of a brand new millennium, and the U.S. Mint decided to honor one of the most important figures in American history, Sacagawea. The golden-colored dollar coin featuring her image, carrying her infant son Jean-Baptiste, was meant to be a coin of the future, smooth, shining, with a unique golden hue unlike anything Americans had seen in their pocket change before. But here's the shocking truth: while most of these Sacagawea dollars are worth only $1, a few rare varieties have skyrocketed to jaw-dropping prices. And this is where collectors lose their minds. Now, in fine condition, just like the one we're looking at, most Sacagawea dollars will trade for only a small premium. Maybe $2, $5, or even $10, depending on condition. Nothing special, right? But what if I told you there's a specific version of the 2000 Sacagawea that has sold for over $450,000 at auction? That's right, a single coin that looks almost ordinary could be worth more than most people's entire retirement savings. Here's how this happened. In the year 2000, a small number of Sacagawea dollars were accidentally struck using state quarter dies. These so-called Cheerios dollars were placed inside Cheerio cereal boxes as part of a nationwide promotion. Most people tore open their cereal, saw the coin, and spent it without a second thought. But collectors later discovered that these Cheerios Sacagawea dollars had a completely different tail feather design on the eagle, bold, sharply detailed feather pattern that stands out from the regular issue. That single detail made all the difference. The standard Sacagawea dollar in fine condition only bring you a couple bucks. But if you have the Cheerios variety, we're talking staggering values. Circulated examples have sold for $25,000 to $40,000. Uncirculated specimens have gone for well over $100,000. And the very finest known examples, those few that look like they were struck yesterday, have broken the $450,000 mark. Can you imagine pulling that out of an old coin jar in your kitchen? That's the kind of find that gives every collector goosebumps. But wait, that's not the only valuable variety. Some 2000 Sacagawea dollars were struck on experimental planchets, including a few that were minted on pure copper nickel clad used for state quarters. Others have dramatic minting errors, double strikes, off-center strikes, or missing edge lettering on later years. These are coins that might look like mistakes to the untrained eye, but can command prices of $5,000, $10,000, or even $20,000 depending on the severity and condition. So, how do you identify if your Sacagawea dollar is just an ordinary piece of pocket change or a small fortune in disguise? First, check the reverse eagle's tail feathers. If you see a sharp, bold design with much more detail than the regular issue, you could be staring at the Cheerios variety. Next, check for striking errors. Is the coin off-center, double struck, or showing unusual metal surfaces? Lastly, condition matters. Even a small scratch can slash thousands of dollars off the value, while pristine examples can multiply in price tenfold. Now, here's the exciting part. The 2000 Sacagawea was mass-produced, with over 1 billion struck. That means millions are still sitting in bankrolls, dresser drawers, or tucked inside collections where the owner has no idea what they really have. And that's where the thrill comes in. Every time you come across one of these golden coins, your heart races a little. Could this be the legendary Cheerios dollar? Could this be the one worth nearly $500,000? The truth is, most will never know until they look closely. And that's the magic of coin collecting. A simple piece of metal that once bought a candy bar could now be worth enough to buy a car, a house, or even an early retirement. Next up, we have a coin that pays tribute to one of the most legendary figures in American history, the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. His leadership during the Civil War and his two-term presidency cemented his place in history. And when the U.S. Mint honored him on a golden presidential dollar, collectors immediately took notice. At first glance, it looks like any other modern dollar coin. The golden surface, the bold portrait of Grant staring forward, his name and years in office etched into the rim. But what most people don't realize is that hidden among these ordinary coins are some shocking rarities that could be worth a life-changing fortune. In fine condition. A typical Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollar may only fetch $1 or $2 above face value. That's where most collectors stop looking. But for those who know what to check, this coin can quickly leap from pocket change to the kind of payday that makes headlines. And here's where things get exciting. Some 2011 Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollars were struck with incredible mint errors. A few were discovered missing the edge lettering entirely, no date, no "In God We Trust," no "Pluribus Unum," completely blank. These are known as missing edge letter errors, and they've sold for thousands of dollars at auction. Even in circulated condition, collectors have paid $5,000 to $7,500. And when pristine and circulated examples appear, prices are sometimes over $25,000. But the true shocker lies in a handful of rare proof strikes and experimental errors. In one astonishing case, a Grant presidential dollar was discovered struck on the wrong planchet, a different coin's blank, giving it a bizarre silvery color instead of the golden hue. That single coin sold for well over $150,000. Imagine pulling what looks like a strange off-colored coin out of a roll, only to discover it's worth more than a luxury car. Collectors also hunt for double dies on these coins. A few rare Grant dollars show strong doubling in the inscriptions or lettering along the rim. Even light doubling can bring several $1,000s, while dramatic examples have been valued into the six-figure range. Now here's the thrilling part for anyone watching this video. These presidential dollars were minted in huge numbers, but they never circulated like quarters or dimes. Most went straight into rolls, boxes, and collections. That means countless rolls are still sitting unopened in banks, safe deposit boxes, and even forgotten in people's closets. For an older audience, especially, think about this. If you or your family bought U.S. Mint rolls back in 2011, you could literally be sitting on a treasure chest without even knowing it. In fine condition. A circulated Grant dollar may not grab attention at first glance, but what makes the difference is the detail. Check those rims carefully. Is the edge lettering missing or doubled? Hold it under bright light. Do you notice doubling in the inscriptions? And compare the color. Does it look silver gray instead of golden? These subtle details are the keys that separate a $1 coin from one worth hundreds of thousands. Just imagine opening a roll of these coins after a decade in storage and spotting that strange variety. It's the kind of discovery that gives every collector chills. One day, you think you're holding an ordinary presidential dollar. The next, you realize it could pay for a dream vacation, clear out your debts, or even buy a brand new home. That's the kind of shock value hidden inside these presidential dollars. And Ulysses S. Grant's issue is one of the most exciting of them all. Moving on, we come to the 2001D Sacagawea dollar struck in Denver and often overlooked as just another ordinary golden coin. But let me tell you, this one hides secrets that can turn your jaw to the floor. At first glance, the coin doesn't seem unusual. Sacagawea, carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, graces the obverse, while a soaring eagle spreads its wings across the reverse. Millions were minted, and in fine condition. Most 2001D dollars might only be worth face value or a couple of dollars to casual collectors. But here's where the story gets shocking. Some 2001D Sacagawea dollars have been found struck on the wrong planchets blanks intended for other US coins. Imagine holding a Sacagawea dollar, but instead of that golden color, it looks silvery, coppery, or even oddly thin. That's because the coin was minted on a blank meant for a quarter or a foreign coin. One such dramatic mint error sold for more than $60,000. Another went for $95,000. All because it carried the wrong metal. And the very rarest miss strikes the ones with multiple errors combined, like being struck off center and on the wrong planchet, have approached a staggering 250,000. But it doesn't end there. Collectors also chase after double die varieties from the 2001D. Some show striking doubling in Sacagawea's hair and even along the rim lettering. Most people would dismiss this as just a little blur, but for the trained eye, that doubling can mean the difference between $1 and $15,000 to $25,000. Uncirculated double dies can reach well into the six-figure range. Now here's where it gets even wilder. A small batch of 2001D Sacagawea dollars was paired with experimental finishes coins that look like proofs, with deeply mirrored fields and frosted devices, but struck at the Denver Mint instead of Philadelphia. These mystery coins slipped out and left collectors puzzled. Today, they're so scarce that when one appears at auction, the bidding war is ferocious. Prices of $75,000, $120,000, and beyond have been recorded. In fine condition, the typical 2001D Sacagawea isn't going to make you rich, but that's the thrill of it. Most people never look close enough. They toss these coins in a jar, forget about them, or spend them on a coffee. Yet the difference between an ordinary dollar and one worth $250,000 can be as small as a line doubled in the lettering or a blank planchet mix-up at the mint. Think about that for a moment. A coin that cost you a single dollar at the bank could secretly carry the power to buy a new car, pay off medical bills, or even put your grandkids through college. That's the kind of shocking discovery collectors live for. So if you're holding a 2001D Sacagawea dollar in fine condition, don't dismiss it. Examine the color, study the details, and check for doubling or unusual metal. Because while millions of these are ordinary, just one mistake by the mint can transform it into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. And yes, these jackpots are still out there, waiting to be found. Next in our journey through presidential dollars, we come to a man whose legacy looms large in American history, the 7th President of the United States, Andrew Jackson. Known as Old Hickory, Jackson's fiery personality and strong leadership forever changed the nation. And when his portrait was struck onto a golden presidential dollar in 2008, it instantly became a favorite among collectors. At first glance, the coin looks like any other in the series. Jackson's bold image on the front, the Statue of Liberty on the reverse, and the edge inscriptions that make this series so unique. But the truth is, hiding within this coin are varieties and errors that have sold for shocking amounts of money. Now, in fine condition, a typical Andrew Jackson presidential dollar won't seem very special. You might get $1, $2, maybe $3 for it. Most people would toss it back into circulation. But here's the catch: some of these coins have errors so dramatic and so rare that their value climbs straight into the six-figure range. One of the most infamous issues with the Jackson dollar involves the missing edge lettering error. You see, all presidential dollars were supposed to have the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and "E Pluribus Unum" inscribed around the edge. But in 2008, the mint had a serious problem. Thousands of coins slipped out of the presses completely blank, around the rim no lettering at all. To the average person, it looks like nothing more than a smooth edge. But to collectors, this error transformed an ordinary coin into a treasure. Circulated examples have sold for $5,000 to $8,000, while pristine uncirculated specimens have reached over $25,000. But it gets even crazier. A small number of Jackson dollars were discovered struck on the wrong planchets. Some ended up on planchets meant for Sacagawea dollars, giving them a slightly different color and weight. Others were struck on quarter blanks, leaving them undersized. These bizarre mint mistakes have shocked the collecting world, with prices climbing into the $150,000 to $200,000 range. Imagine spotting one of these oddballs in your change could pay off your mortgage in an instant. Then there are the double dies, another collector favorite. A few Andrew Jackson presidential dollars showed doubling in the inscriptions or even subtle shifts in Jackson's portrait itself. They may not jump out at first, but once identified, their value jumps dramatically. Even a light double die can bring $10,000 to $15,000, while dramatic, high-grade examples have gone for well over $100,000. Here's where the thrill really kicks in. Presidential dollars like the Andrew Jackson weren't widely circulated. The mint produced millions, but most went straight into collectors' hands, rolls, or storage. That means thousands of unopened rolls are still sitting in closets, safe deposit boxes, and forgotten bank orders from 2008. For collectors today, this is like buried treasure. You might open an old roll of Jackson dollars and pull out a smooth edge error worth more than a new car or worse. Spend it at the grocery store without even knowing what you had. So, what should you look for if you're holding an Andrew Jackson dollar in fine condition? First, run your finger along the edge. Do you feel the inscriptions? Or is it perfectly smooth? Next, look closely for any unusual metal color or size. A wrong planchet could mean a jackpot. And under bright light, check for doubling in the lettering or portrait. These tiny details can make the difference between a $1 coin and a coin worth over $200,000. That's the incredible part about coins like this. A small, golden-colored dollar that most people dismiss could secretly hold the power to change your life. And that's why the Andrew Jackson presidential dollar has become one of the most exciting coins in the series. And finally, we come to one of the most fascinating presidential dollars of them all. The coin honoring America's 22nd president, Grover Cleveland, from his first term in office between 1885 and 1889. Cleveland is unique in U.S. history because he's the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, which means he actually appears on 2 separate presidential dollars. The first term issue, minted in 2012, looks like any other coin in the series. Cleveland's portrait on the obverse, the Statue of Liberty blazing on the reverse, and the famous edge lettering that defines these golden dollars. But what hides beneath this coin's surface will absolutely shock you. In fine condition, most Grover Cleveland first-term dollars are worth only $1 or $2 above face value. Nothing exciting, until you realize that a handful of these coins left the mint with errors so rare they have become 6-figure legends. The most notorious is the missing edge lettering error. Just like we saw with Andrew Jackson's coin, some Cleveland dollars escaped the presses completely smooth around the edges. At first, you might think it's no big deal, just a small oversight. But collectors will pay dearly for these. Circulated examples have fetched $4,000 to $6,000, while brilliant, uncirculated pieces can bring more than $20,000. But the real jaw-dropper lies in the wrong planchet strikes. A few Grover Cleveland dollars were discovered struck on experimental or foreign blanks, giving them unusual colors, lighter weights, or strange thicknesses. These bizarre mint errors aren't just curiosities, they're treasures. One example shocked the collecting world when it sold for over $175,000. Another, with multiple striking errors combined, pushed beyond $300,000. Imagine holding a coin that looks a little off, only to learn it's worth more than most people's retirement accounts. Collectors also chase double dies in the Cleveland series. Some rare pieces show doubling in the inscriptions on the obverse, or even faint shifts in the portrait itself. They may look ordinary to the untrained eye, but under magnification, those tiny errors could mean the difference between a $1 coin and one valued at $50,000 to $100,000. And here's something even more electrifying. Because Cleveland had 2 separate coins, one for his first term and another for his second, mix-ups at the mint have created crossover errors. A few dollars have been reported with mismatched dies, where one side reflects details not meant for that issue. These mysterious coins are so rare that collectors place almost no limit on their price. If one surfaces, the bidding frenzy could drive it well past $500,000, Think about it. You may have a Grover Cleveland dollar tucked away in a box, or maybe you received one in change years ago and forgot about it. Most are worth very little, but a tiny handful are worth staggering sums. And the only thing standing between you and a jackpot is whether you take the time to look closely. So, here's what you should do if you come across a Grover Cleveland dollar in fine condition. First, check the edge. Is the lettering missing or incomplete? Next, weigh the coin. Does it seem lighter or heavier than normal? Finally, under magnification for doubling in the lettering or portrait, because the difference between a common coin and one worth $300,000 or more is often invisible at first glance, and that's the thrilling truth of this series. 5 ordinary-looking presidential dollars that could secretly be worth fortunes. A Sacagawea dollar that might buy you a house. A Ulysses S. Grant dollar that could pay off all your debts. A 2001D Sacagawea hiding a jackpot. An Andrew Jackson dollar with the power to change your life. And now, a Grover Cleveland dollar that could send you straight into 6-figure territory. This is why coin collecting is so exciting. Every time you hold one of these coins, you're not just holding history, you might be holding a fortune. So the next time you come across one of these golden dollars, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look, because the treasure you've been searching for might be right there in your hands.